might have cancer, but you're not going to die straight away, but you might die slowly over a period of time, which is
Yeah.
obviously more painful
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
sense. And therefore, having a financial security helps massively.
Hi guys, again we're still on the theme of protection, which isn't the nicest subject, but it's something that we feel is important to talk about. And today we are talking to you about critical illness cover. Rav, what is critical illness cover? What is a critical illness?
Critical illness effectively is, any sort of illness that may be life-threatening or could alter the way you live your life. Four major ones such as stroke, cancer, heart attack, multiple sclerosis. These are critical. We say these are critical because once you have this, there is a good chance that it might actually end your life. But if it doesn't end your life, it will seriously hamper or affect the way you continue living your life, which could mean it can affect your income, it can affect your general day to day. So having a critical illness cover basically means that if you are affected with any of those conditions, and that's more than four, you get a lump sum to basically look after yourself or for your mortgage.
Cool.
Pretty good answer, that.
Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive. Darren, what is? I know it might be quite obvious to us, but what's the sort of main difference between critical illness cover and a life cover policy?
So the main difference is that critical illness will pay out on diagnosis of a critical illness. It scales, it depends, depending on the coverage that you have. It might be 50% of the sum assured that you have, whereas obviously life pays out on death or diagnosis of a terminal illness.
Cool, perfect. And Steve, why do you need both? Do you need life and critical illness cover?
No, but it's very beneficial if you have both.
Perfect, short and sweet, just how I like it. Why would you say it's sort of important to have both?
I think it obviously depends on your situation. So if you're buying with a partner or somebody else, then life insurance is always a must, I think.
Yeah.
Just in case one of you passes away, mortgage is cleared. Very simple. Critical illness is something that you need to take, I think, more so for yourself, because if you get diagnosed with one of those big four, like Rav said, your mind's going to be everywhere. Your health's obviously going to be everywhere. You're not going to be able to work. If you've got, I don't know, 100 grand's worth of critical illness cover that pays out on diagnosis, it lands in your bank account upon diagnosis. Do you know what I mean? So it's there. You then don't have to worry about work for a few years. You can concentrate on your own health. You can still pay the mortgage. You can pay for some treatment if you wanted to, things like that. But it's hugely beneficial for yourself, essentially, because otherwise you're going to have to try and keep working to pay the bills, sell the house, etc. Whereas this is there to make a terrible time, again, a little bit easier, essentially.
Yeah, I think I don't know if this is going to come out correctly, but the main difference for me is that if you die, you're gone. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not there to worry about it. If you get cancer or you have a stroke and you survive, you're there. You've got to stress about getting better. You've got to stress about paying the bills. So it's always, I think that if you look at the stats, I don't know them off the top of my head, but if you take a 35-year mortgage at the age of 30 till 65, you're more likely to claim on a critical illness in that time frame than dying, because people are living longer these days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think Macmillan say that 1 in 2 people in the UK are going to get cancer in their life. Yeah. So I don't know which two of you three are going to get it. I'm quite healthy.
I mean, people are living longer because of
treatments,
innovation in the medical field. Medical technology is helping people live longer. So, but you're more likely to suffer from one of these. And you might have cancer, but you're not going to die straight away. But you might die slowly over a period of time, which is obviously more painful in a sense. And therefore, having a financial security helps massively. It's a very understated cover, but it's a so crucial and important cover to have.
I was going to say, just on that point, a heart attack is how common a heart attacks these days is. Again, it sounds a bit quite morbid, but if you have a heart attack and you don't die, it puts you out for a good few months, year or so or whatever, but you can still function. But giving yourself that time off, you might have a few weeks off of work from, sick pay and stuff like that. But if you can have, a 25 grand, 50 grand lump sum from a partial payout from a critical illness policy,
Yeah.
you haven't got to think about, you can take some time off work. You haven't got to think about that. You can concentrate on getting better
Yeah.
and then go again.
I think one of the important ones as well is strokes. Say if you have a stroke, you might have accessibility issues in your house. Sort of, you might need to move house. You might need to build a shower room if you're sort of disabled. So it's good to have that lump sum there to not necessarily pay off the mortgage, but to make adjustments to your house, etc. If the worst was to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I like about critical illness cover is that there's so many different variants. Like it's not just the four. There's depending on which provider. There's
Loads of
so
definitions,
many
right?
There's so many different definitions. Like gout is one of them. Like blindness, and then there's different levels. So you might not get a full payout dependent on the severity of the critical illness that you get, but you can get a partial payout. So it's always good to have a review of that. It's so deep, isn't it? The stuff that
is.
goes into critical illness.
Of course,
That it's always good to have a sort of sit down review and fully understand what cover you're taking.
yeah.
100%.
Again, Darren, how is it paid out? Is it paid out similar to life cover, like as a lump sum, tax free?
Yeah, it is. And yeah, like Don was saying, I think without getting too deep into it or too morbid about it, but like, for example, if we're talking about the big C word, cancer, and
Yeah.
you know, sometimes people don't even know that they have symptoms, and then suddenly you just go for a routine checkup, and then you're hit with like stage 3,
Yeah.
stage 4, like Sir Chris Hoy, for example.
Yeah.
You sort of just want to alleviate some of that financial stress, probably like tick a few things off your bucket list if you want, you know. It just provides you that level of comfort that
Definitely.
you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will pay out tax-free lump sum.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good example actually. That someone who's like an Olympian probably lived a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
madness.
one of the
Absolutely,
healthiest.
It's madness.
Mm.
It's madness. In terms of critical illness, again, not another nice thing to talk about, but one of the benefits is you can sort of get cover for your child as well as part of the cover. Darren, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah. So obviously it depends with each provider. They all have their own definition and level of coverage, but typically what you'd be looking at is a sort of like a bolt-on, call it children's critical illness cover or children's serious illness cover, depending. And they'll provide sort of, I think it's typically about 25 grand
Yeah.
on top of coverage for children and their treatment and any definitions of any critical illness. Yeah, I mean, God forbid you ever have to claim on that, but it's a good little addition to add on to a policy, especially if you have children or thinking about starting a family or have one on the way. Yeah, and you know, just it's just a little bit more onto your monthly premiums. I think it's well worth its cover.
I think there's loads of add-ons, as you say, and it's always worth discussing it. Like you can upgrade the level of critical illness so you can get more conditions, stuff like global treatment, fracture cover, total permanent disability. Again, I'm not going to go into it all now, but what I would say is sort of when you are looking at your mortgage, like just take it seriously when you're going through it, have a review. There's loads of literature and booklets that sort of you'll be given just to fully understand it. And again, it all comes down to sort of your budget as well, because if you think about it, especially where we are in London, if you want to take full life and full critical illness cover, there's no way around it. It's probably going to be too expensive for a lot of people.
Hundreds of pounds.
So what we can always do is again find your budget and build you something where if you have a priority of life, have life, and then whatever's rest left of your budget, we can top that up with some critical illness cover.
Yeah, I agree.
And then in terms of how we look at it, it's similar to the mortgage, isn't it? We'll sort of find out your budget, find out what level of cover you want, go away with sort of different providers and come back with a quote.
Yeah.
In terms of the critical illness cover as well, and this will tie into life cover as well, is would you say that typically if you take a life cover policy, it would be on a decreasing term?
Not necessary. It all depends on your circumstances and what it is that you are looking to protect.
Yeah.
Typically, you can have a decreasing term, which means your cover decreases every single year for a set period of time, or you can have a level term where your cover stays the same throughout a period of time. So most typically an example would be you have a mortgage of £200,000 and you're taking it over 35 years on a repayment basis, which means at the end of the 35th year, you will have no mortgage. So you can mirror your life cover on same basis, which is decreasing. So at the end of the 35th year,
Yeah.
you'll have no life cover left because you are effectively protecting your mortgage.
Yeah.
So
So,
that-
typically
that-
it will be
yeah.
decreasing.
So that would be your decreasing term.
Yeah.
Which
cool.
is the cheapest as well.
Yeah, it's always cheapest because I suppose it just tapers off, doesn't it?
Conversely, if you had an interest-only mortgage,
Yeah.
you'd be looking to take out a level cover because your mortgage balance is never going to, but it's not going to change during the term.
Yeah.
So you'd want to just have that there ready, and it would be on a level basis. So
Yeah. And then in terms of the critical illness, you can have that sort of, if a lot of the time, if it's dependent on your budget, etc.,
Yep.
you'll take a lower amount than your mortgage, say like 100k or 150k, and then you take that on a level cover, wouldn't you, just so that it stays the same throughout.
Yeah, there's lots of ways of doing it, isn't there? Like you said, you can build something into somebody's budget, but a very normal way of doing something would be to cover the full amount for the mortgage.
Yeah.
In terms of a life insurance policy, and then whatever's left over for your budget, you can obtain as much on a level term basis for your critical illness cover, which will help obviously in that horrible situation should you be diagnosed with a defined critical illness.
Yeah. And then just say, for example, you've got the full life cover on a decreasing term and then a level term critical illness cover, and you get diagnosed with cancer with less than 12 months to live, you'll then effectively receive two payouts, won't you? You'll get the level payout for the
Yeah.
critical illness
Yep.
and the mortgage. So
Mhm.
horrible thing to think about, but in your last 12 months, you'll be able to pay off your mortgage. You've got a lump sum, and as Darren said earlier, you can tick a few things off your bucket list.
Go skydiving or something.
Yeah,
Go on a
just
nice
wanna-
cruise.
You want
or
to live your best life effectively.
yeah, YOLO.
Yeah.
Perfect. Nice one. Thanks, guys.